Hey, party people. Boa noite. Hey, it's your girl, Krishan. Happy Thursday. Feliz Quinta Feira. Coming to you live from Lisboa in my house. I am not at the festas. Although the festas go all month long. And there's a story. I stumbled well, I see the Howard World views in the chat. So we tried to find some of the festivals the other night. We were on a little fishing expedition, so to speak. But yeah, I debated, I contemplated. I was like, am I gonna go down to the festivals and go live? Because tonight is the feast of Santo Antonio, which is the biggest night. But I went last year and I was like, oof, I don't know if I'm up for them crowds tonight. Maybe I'll go another night at the festa because it's literally every night. So it's all good. I was tuning in to our friends, our Black Utopia. They're going live from there, walking around Lisboa. Like I said, it's a month long party all across the country, which is fantastic. The energy is amazing. You smell sardines, you see people dancing, music. It's just happy. And that's part of the reason why I love being here. So glad that y'all tuned in. Boa noite, all you fine, lovely people. Um, I know. And look, because I'm a early retiree, I have zero concept of time. I don't know days of the week anymore. I don't know. I barely know what month we're in. Other than the fact that this is my birthday month, so I do know what this month is. And it's also Black Sit Global's anniversary month. Black Sit Global is officially 5 this month. And so we are doing our amazing celebration in Lisboa. I'm trying to find here we go. I just got out the shower, so my hair is wet. Um, we are celebrating in style in Lisboa. We are having a yacht party. It was so funny that I was watching Nomad Capitalist, if some of you follow that YouTuber. He did a video about Portugal. And at one point, he goes to one of the many boats that are down by the various piers that we have. And I know my yacht. He was not on that one. He was on the much smaller one. I got us a big one, and you can actually see it in many shots. I was like, yeah, baby. Ow. That was my birthday yacht too. Bam, bam, bam. Boots on the ground. So if you are interested in celebrating with us in style, please get your ticket. There are tickets still available for the anniversary party, the October 23rd. Let me get my date straight. October 23rd, 2025. And on October 24th is the Exodus Summit meetup. That one is sold out. And then, because October's going to be busy for me, we have our Nomad Noir cohort. So people who are interested in scouting Portugal, that one sold out too, unless there's any change. That one sold out too. But we are going to have an informational for the people that are on the wait list. And yes, Bailey is here, who are on the wait list and want to participate for Nomad Noir 2026. So we'll have 2 cohorts again. We'll have a spring cohort. I haven't figured out the date because I have a big trip planned somewhere. and because Lisbon did me dirty in March with a month of rain. So Mama's got a plot and plan where she's going to be for the month of March in 2026. But for the fall cohort, it will be in October once again. So, start saving your coins if you are interested in scouting Portugal in 2026. Another announcement for those of you who are interested or need support, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more tonight in our conversation. We're going to have a workshop in Black Sit Global Passport, which is our private community off of social media for those of you who are not fans of social media. And we do workshops. I host an accountability group every month. And so we have our friends from Start Abroad. They will be doing a workshop on relocating and getting residency in Panama, as well as sharing the latest and greatest on residency changes in Portugal. So if you are interested in moving to either of those destinations, we'll probably also talk a little bit about Spain because they also support people who are moving to Spain. If you are interested in that, come on into Black to Global Passport. Yes, yes, yes. Oh yeah, I should probably give you a link. Let me get my linky link, and then I'll say, hey, 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 in the chat to y'all. Okay, here we go. Oh, so the workshop with Start Abroad is going to be October 21st at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. There's so many dates and information in my head right now. I'm like, when is this happening? Plus my own trips. Baby. I am T minus, I think 2 weeks away from my next pop-up. Yeah, I figure I'm gonna go live from wherever I'm at, celebrating my birthday. I did not go to the festivals as I mentioned, so I ordered in tonight, and I ordered in Indian, and so I ate. But I did not consume my mango lassi yet, so I was like, I'm gonna be drinking that during my YouTube. So, I love me a mango lassi. Oh my gosh. And I have to say, mango lassis in Portugal are even better because our fruit is so daggone fresh. Oh my gosh. There, and of course, in Asia. So me and the mango sticky rice, we became friends. Oh my goodness. It was a beautiful thing. So let me say hi to y'all in the chat. And as you're saying hello, I know some of you have said hello already, but let me know where you're tuning in from and how long you've been thinking about or planning your move abroad. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Yeah, I got the date all wrong. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Howard. How's niece? Hey, Cheryl PhD, a channel member. Oh, yes. And for our channel members, you also will get the link to the workshop. So, hey, Maureen. Hey, girl. Hey, you up late from Amsterdam? Hey, Kimmy. How you doing? I need to go back to Amsterdam. I mean, the men's was men's and they are very tall, which I like. Portuguese, not so much. They're not very tall. Denisha, how you doing? Hey, Partey, that's right. Geraldine, and we've got some amazing group of people coming for the meetup and for the anniversary party. Boy night, unapologetically 50. How you doing? Hey. Hey, Angela. Hey, LaRonda. How you doing? I know she's now like crashed on my lap. Hey, Jess. Jess is in the house. So Angela said, damn, that's my move month, 3/26/26. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I haven't booked any tickets yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be here for the month of March. It's either the month of March or April. One of those, I'm going to be gone. Kicking around some ideas as to where I want to go. Yeah, because it's interesting because I only have 2 continents left. I have Africa, right, which I have not gone to, even though Morocco, Morocco is so close. Morocco's like an hour and a half flight. And then at least that'll count as me touching land. And then Antarctica. Those are the only 2 I have left. And I've decided I'm going to do Antarctica in my 50s. Natalie, who's been on the channel, she just went in February for her birthday. And if you follow the Hot Goddess, her pictures are incredible. And so I'm like, I want to do that. I want to get to all 7, right? It's a goal. So I'm like, I'm leaning towards the continent for my trip, but I also like Japan. So I'm thinking I can do both. I can do my month-long trip in Africa somewhere, leaning towards Kenya. Um, and then maybe for my birthday, celebrate my birthday next year in Japan. That's kind of like what's dancing in my head right now. We'll see. We'll see. Um, it was. They did me dirty. I spent a month in Thailand and Vietnam. Amazing time. I can't even count how many massages, how much indulgent getting clothes made. I was living the soft life, villa on the water, amazing things. Right, riding bikes through rice fields, amazing things. And I came back in my new home country did me dirty with this rain. I was like, what? I thought we were good, Portugal. Uh-uh. We have 2 more rains in here. Hey, hey, hey. Southern California. Wow. It never rains in Southern California. I know. Let's hope. I was on the apps and I was like 200 centimeters. I was like, I've not seen 200 centimeters on an app. In Portugal, these men are short. 160, 169, 171, 172. That's the average. I am 172 centimeters. And so I'm like, okay, you at least got to be okay, I may do 171, but at least 172, right? This cutie, he flirted with me the other night when me and my friend who's in the chat were in the elevator. He was very young, but I could see very much over his head, which was a problem because then I was like, I'm turned off. I'm turned off from that. I'm turned off from men who have minor children. I'm just going to tell you. I can't. I can't. My kid's grown. I got an empty nest. Nope. Uh-uh. No, mama got to be able to travel. Mama got to be able to get on a jet. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, please get declutter. Yes, a new beginning. Oh yes. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to get to Azores too, but I'm gonna go during off season, right? Because now we're in high season here in Portugal. So no. And then tonight, that was one of the reasons why I didn't go to the festa. Tonight, there was a strike because it's Europe that went into effect at 8 for the buses and the trains, which meant Ubers were going to be, ride shares were going to be really expensive, which are already a little expensive because of the festa. So I was like, I'm not in the mood for that because that means everybody's going to have to be trying to get a ride share depending on where you live. I'm be waiting. And I was like, no, it was too much. I gave up. Hey, Nichelle. Yeah, right. Look, if you ever go to Penna Palace, oh my goodness, you'll see. And if you watched Robin Roberts' coverage when she was in Portugal last year, she goes to Penna Palace in Sintra, and you go and you just need to see the king's bed. That's all I'm gonna say. Yes. And I hear Malta and Norway and Germany. Yes. Mm-hmm. Actually, when Maureen and I were at the beach club in Nice, we met a Black woman who had just come back from Germany, and she was like, so, when you live in Europe and these tickets be like 100, 200, 2, 3 hours. You're like, I guess I could go for a couple days. Scout it out. No, that's true. But also things are proportioned. So, yes, look, I'm just saying, everybody has their list of things, right? And for me, that has been a thing. That has been a thing. I'm sorry, poo poo. I know I'm getting water all over my baby. I'm sorry. Um, okay, so we're gonna get into it. So I know some of you have shared where you are in the world, but how long have you been plotting and planning? And what are your feelings about starting over? Because this session tonight is going to be talking about the hidden reason why some of you have not moved abroad yet. It doesn't pertain to all of you. I'm going to tell you what it is in a minute. But it's going to be important to start to talk about those things. Like, how long have you been planning? And then what word or words describe how you feel about starting over? So LaRonda had said, hey, started researching countries back in 2020. Hey, decided on Portugal in 2021, but actively trying to move since the end of 2022. Ready to go, but no place to land. Their housing crisis is no joke. Yes, it's very true. And we're gonna talk about that. So let me start that so I can come back to that. Hey, Winnie B. Hey, Bridget. Hey, our passport members are here. So a new beginning said finances and fear of failing. Wow. Thank you for being so honest and transparent with that. Black Butterfly said, hey, at ATL, how you doing? Decluttering. Just listed my condo. Congratulations. Sending you positive vibes for a quick transaction that is over asking. Denisha said, I've been waiting for my son to graduate from high school. He's a 2025 graduate. Hey, congratulations. Looking to move immediately. Yes, baby. Look, I moved my daughter to campus, and then I was on a plane 48 hours later. I was out. I dropped her off at campus and then dropped the car back to the dealership. And then my friend took me to the airport the next day. I was out. Nope. I wasn't playing. I was not playing. Wow. Just said new mindset, ready to reinvent myself. Yes. I love that. Pamela, I'm doing well. She's doing well. She's snuggling because it's been windy here the past couple of days, and she is not a fan of the wind. So she gets very, very clingy. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of staying home too. Is I know I don't want to come back to her like having a whole nervous puppy breakdown. So I was like, okay, at least if I'm home, she'll feel better. Y'all know. And I didn't even look, this is not laced with alcohol. This is just mangoes and yogurt. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Dr. O, hey, another channel member. Didn't get the Fulbright in 21, then finances, leaving for Florida. Yay! In July, a couple of cruises, then the adventure begins. Yes, awesome. Love the plan. Tanya said, looking since 2021, fearful of the unknown, but trying, yes. Ready to try something new. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And so I can relate. Fear is one of those things that, they have those acronyms. Fear is false evidence appearing real. And for many of us, it has been something that has been familiar. Fear has unfortunately become or taken residence in a lot of our lives. We have fear of, unrest, racial interactions. So we wear this armor. When you're a parent, especially a parent of a Black male child, every time that child leaves the house, there's this fear, right? Of, is this child going to be safe in the world? Is this child going to come home? And really of any gender, but specifically Black males, um, or even partners in your life, right? This fear of losing your job, because in the US, you don't have job protections that you do in other countries. Like I mentioned, there's obviously the festas go on for a month, right? The unions here knew that, but they deliberately chose these days to hold a strike because they knew it was going to be disruptive. And then I've experienced strikes in Iceland, here, of course. I feel like I experienced one. No, I was here, but remember the strikes last year in France. And in many of these European countries, not saying exclusively, but it's more about wages than it is about benefits, because they have strong healthcare systems, right? Whereas in the US, there has been that you work at the pleasure of your employer, so you're at will. Your healthcare, literally your livelihood, is tied to your employment. So whether you're sick or well, you have to go to work. And pensions have become erased. That's not a word that many people are familiar with. And even for a good swath of the US, they either don't have access to 401ks or don't know how to invest. We've heard stories about people who have put money in 401k, but put the cash in, but didn't allocate it to a fund. And then wonder why 10, 15 years later, the amount is the same or has declined because they've been paying fees but never invested. They don't know what to invest in, so they're fearful, right? And so all of these things like kind of compound and make fear familiar. Fear then becomes safe because it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't, right? You might fear, here you go, Bobby. You might fear starting over in a new country, and you have excitement about, oh, if I'm living in, the Netherlands, if I'm living in Kenya, if I'm living in, Ghana or Dominican Republic, oh, you're like, oh, it's exciting. Especially you follow these people and you see snapshots and snippets of our lives. And you're like, oh, wow, I want that. Like, that would be amazing. And then in the recess of your mind, you might also be fearful of, well, that person did it. Can I do it too? Well, that person doesn't have the same set of challenges or circumstances that I have. Can I do that? Right? Or it would be, that's good for them, but not good for me. And again, it goes back to fear holding you back and being the devil that you are familiar with. But what I want to talk about tonight is how, and this gets to what the hidden thing is, the hidden thing that is keeping so many people who want to move abroad and who are planning to move abroad from moving abroad. And I've been at this for 5 years, so I've coached, I've moved, I've helped a lot of folks. I've inspired a lot of folks along this journey, 80 plus podcast episodes. It's your nervous system. Your nervous system is actively being and has been actively hijacked for many of us for years. For years. And we've normalized how much our nervous systems have been hijacked to where it has a baseline status quo. I was watching this video earlier, and I actually shared it on my Facebook. Um, and it was this guy who was in a car, and he had a Mike Myers, mask on, and he's like driving up in the car, and he like honks the horn, and he's like looking at the people. Now, I've seen similar videos where they'll come in theaters and they'll be like, run or something like that, and everybody runs, like people who are differently hued. And so in this particular video, it was like all Black women, and he's at the light, he beeps the horn, and these women bust out laughing. And like the caption was like, look, you can't scare Black women like that. We've been through too much. And I was laughing because I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. But at the same time, like in preparation for tonight's talk, it was actually an illustration of how much we have divorced ourselves, not knowingly or willingly in a lot of ways, but because we have been, subjected historically, and our mothers, our aunts, our other family members and friends, to so much that just tapping into joy and love and fantasy and wanderlust, right? It feels almost unattainable. And so when something happens, which some of you have shared in the comments, whether it's a setback with a job, or a scholarship, or another opportunity that fell through, or a relationship that went south, that it can be something big or it can be something seemingly small. But just the mere fact of that, or someone gets elected to the White House, right? And it completely changes everything, completely derails your plan, because fear, right? That familiar emotion starts coming in, and it starts, whether it's through your own subconscious telling you in the background, those old tapes start playing. Oh no, I mean, maybe you can make it work. Maybe you could stick it out till you're 59. Maybe you could stick it out till Social Security. Maybe, just wait till, okay, your child went to high school, but you know what? Maybe you can wait 4 more years. Maybe when they're out of college, right? Oh, maybe when my loved one transitions, or I put them in a home. Maybe, and so you start either creating roadblocks because that keeps you from moving. But again, it keeps you from moving anywhere. It keeps you from progressing forward. It keeps you from attaining a goal that you deserve. Some of us walk around, myself, look, I was there, right? And not feeling deserving, right? That these things were, whatever it is, right? These things were for other people. And there is sometimes that small voice inside you that says, this isn't for you. But you have to recognize it as fear, and you have to recognize that it is your nervous system that's dysregulated. And when you move abroad, part of the journey I've been on for almost 2 years now is learning to regulate my nervous system. So we're going to talk about that too. Um, Just said, yes, kick fear to the curb. Hey, Karen Louise. Patricia said, 2022, started 2023, Portugal trip, learning, yay, Portuguese slowly, yes. Pushing forward to move to Panama. Awesome. We'll definitely tune in for the workshop. Yes. Denisha, that is so true, but the devil we know is changing daily, which is scary. Yes, yes. We have to believe that it has to be better elsewhere. Yeah, because it's like, I understand, like the devil you know versus the devil you don't, right? And all of those feelings, right? And the devil is a shapeshifter, right? Because if the devil wasn't a shapeshifter, the devil would appear once and you'd be like, okay, now I know how to deal with it. They wouldn't be able to come and manifest in another way. So the devil is going to constantly change and come in some other shape or form because it's a shapeshifter. But building that muscle and reclaiming and re-regulating your nervous system will allow you to then see the devil and be like, mm. Towards the end of my journey in the States before I transitioned to Portugal, I had some challenges, and then I'd be like, oh, this is a test. Right? Like, this is a test. And and it's a reframe, as soon as you start to build tools, right? And build that muscle, that allows you to beat the devil back, right? And so then you build that sense of accomplishment, right? You start to feel stronger. And I can't say it enough that being in community, particularly along this journey, is important. I was watching somebody else's video earlier, and it was somebody who's abroad, and they had said that they had shared their plans or their desire to move abroad with a family member, and that family member I assume it was a male who had posted this, and he said that the person kind of like poo-pooed his desire and was like, oh, you just need to toughen up and like stick it out, right? But if you're a person who is actively planning or strongly desiring a move, and you finally have gotten the courage to share your desire with someone, and then they say the thing that actually confirms your fears, that is the worst feeling. And so that's what I mean. Community is so important, because community of people who are doing the thing that you want to do is going to rally around you. Community shows up like coming to accountability group and saying that, and having people show up and support you and affirm and reaffirm your desire and give you tools for your toolkit and strengthen that muscle so you can go back out and face the world. When I was talking about this years ago, people called me weirdo. Why would you leave America? Da, 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 da. Those same people are begging to find out the cheat codes on how to move abroad, right? So it's okay to be the weird one. It's okay to be the odd one out, right? It's okay to be a trailblazer, because, baby, we've been trailblazing and blazing trails since for millenniums, right? We can do this. We can do this. It has to be better. And if you survived, which if you're watching this, and most of y'all are tuning in from America, if you survived your whole existence in the United States of America, baby, you can live anywhere in the world, okay? There is nothing. And actually, it's a quote that's seen in an interview from James Baldwin, because, gotta have the ancestors here. um, and he was talking about his time in Paris and why he left America. And he said, because nothing could have been worse than what I already experienced. And I think he left, and this was like the 60s, right? Yeah, the 60s. And I think he left with like $30 or something like that. Amazing, right? My mom says this sometimes. I don't know if she got it from my grandmother when she was alive, but she says, draw strength, right? Draw strength. Sometimes we have to borrow strength from people we admire, right? Who are doing something. And it doesn't even have to be something like exactly with what you want to do. I think I might have shared, I don't know, because I've been doing a lot of interviews, so I'm not exactly sure when I said this. But I remember there was a low part of my point in my life in about, I think it was like 2013. It was like a job loss and protracted. It was like 2 years and all this other stuff. And I remember seeing Amy Purdy dancing on Dancing with the Stars. And I had never heard of her. For those of you who don't know her, she's a Paralympian. She lost her legs at age 19. And she lost her legs. And I think she had gotten a transplant from her father. So she subsequently, I think she finished second place in Dancing with the Stars. But I remember watching her dance so beautifully as if she were able-bodied. And just watching her, I was like, wait a minute, if this lady like lost her legs at 19 and then became an Olympic snowboarder and then went on Dancing with the Stars and then became a speaker, and I saw her during Oprah's Live Your Life tour. I got to meet her, get her autograph, I got her book. I've got a picture with her for those of you who follow me. It's posted somewhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had to borrow her strength in order to kind of refill my cup to push past a low point. So sometimes you have to borrow, and it's a game. It's a mind shift, right? Sometimes you have to gamify it. You have to trick yourself into that in order to get to where you want to be, right? Because again, a lot of times you are seeing snippets of people's lives. You're not seeing all of the journey steps along the way. Hey, my brother's here. Hi. So some of you, and I know myself included, because like I said, I believe in transparency. Let me know if this resonates with you. Are you considered the strong one in either your family or your peer set? Do they come to you with like issues because you're the strong one? You're the person that somebody leans on, whether it's your kids, your parents, friends. Does this resonate with any of you, being the strong one? And while you guys answer that question, I'm just going to look at some of the things that you guys shared in the chat. Jess said discombobulated is a word that stops you from. Yeah, that's a good word. Discombobulated. Bridget said there's this comfort in taking a risk, and there's discomfort of regret. One moves you forward, the other keeps you circling the same spot. Greg McGowan. Excellent quote. Excellent quote. Absolutely. I love that. Kickboxing classes. Yes. Physical activity. And you kind of jumped ahead. That's great. But it's awesome, right? Physical activity, or for some, it's writing things down. But anything that moves your body or shifts and can distract you, because what you want to do is interrupt the negative talk track, right? Interrupt the soundtrack that's been playing and the fear that's been ever present, right? Because you want to grow strength. You want to build your muscle. Greta said, hey, Greta, I have to believe there's a better place to live other than America. Absolutely. I'm building up my muscles and drowning out the noise of other people. 100%. Absolutely. That's excellent. I think my little scrolly went crazy. Let's see. Okay, I think I got it back. Michelle, I learned to talk less about my plans this time. I don't talk details, even when asked. Just keep pressing on with my plans. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Don't feed the people who are not in a position to support you. And it doesn't mean that those people don't love you, but people People have capacity limits, right? Sometimes what people can't see for themselves, they can't see for you, right? Because they have been stuck in fear. And one of the things that you have to realize, and it goes back to this nervous system dysregulation, is when fear has become ever present, your brains, our brains, we're human beings, right? We learn to adapt. Our brains start to transform and take that fear and get to a place where, okay, your body is trying to bring you back to homeostasis, right? Level. But remember, fear has you up here. So now your new baseline is a heightened state of fear, but it's like, okay, well, now your baseline is at a different level because the fear is there. So now it takes even more to get you to function, right? Kind of like that video I said earlier. It's like those Black women were not afraid, right? And in the comments, I was looking at the comments because I read the comments of that video, and people are, because like I said, I like these silly videos, but one of the comments said, "Oh, if you really want to scare us, let it be a policeman that pulled up." And it's like, aha, right? Again, it's like our nervous systems have been hijacked, and it continues to be hijacked because you have the 24-hour news cycle. You have these alerts that show up on our phones. You have all of these things, these macro things that happen that are outside of our control. And we're trying to do these plans. We're trying to live our current life. We're trying to be in a dream state or actively plan towards a future state and save towards that. And then you have a myriad of other things that are outside of your control. And for so many of us, we have been stuck in survival mode for so many decades that it has diminished in a lot of ways our ability to dream, our ability to imagine, right? Our ability to realize that we are deserving of a life that is free, a life that is absent of gun violence, of, you know, police state and surveillance and living in fear, being in crowds, things like that, right? And I'm not saying that once you move abroad and you get on that plane, it's like Dorothy waved her magic wand and everything is fine. What happens is you actually start to have to really work on the fact and recognize and allow your body and your brain to understand that you are safe. And what does safety feel like? For some of us, we have never felt truly safe. And as Black women, we are not always protected. We are not always feeling safe. Greta said, even with everything that's happening in our country, with fascism, it's now here, it sure is. People still have said to me, leaving America is a mistake. I don't receive that kind of talk. I'm just staying focused. Absolutely. And I think, one of the things that has worked for you and allowed you to have that capacity to manage that type of talk around you is the fact that, Greta, you've been plugged in for years. You have been plugged into me, Exodus Summit, Our Black Utopia, all of the things, right? Like, so you're constantly nourishing yourself and giving back, right? With the things that you share on social media, supporting other people in the comments. Those are the things that help you. And so sometimes, like I said, we're all on different timelines. And that was the other video that I shared. Like when you're on the 3 to 5 year timeline, I made my decision in 2017. I did not move till 2023. So it goes all those things that I said before, borrowing strength from other people, right? Getting in community, right? Feeding yourself, and then starting to move your body or write or build things that physically start to help you disrupt those patterns and reclaim your sovereignty, because that's what it's all about, right? Is your sense of agency and sovereignty. And for many of us, so many of us, we haven't been able to feel that level of safety. Portugal is the sixth safest country in the world. I'm going to say that again. Portugal is the sixth or seventh safest country in the world. The United States is not. And so for me, and I've been traveling for years, and I had these rules like I don't go out at night by myself and things like that. And I remember, I think Portugal was the first country I ever broke my rule when I was on my scouting trip. And I walked through this park that was dark, big one, my favorite park in Lisbon, and I had to walk from the metro to the flat that I had in my Airbnb. And I walked through there and I felt completely safe. And I saw this man, and I remember he was sitting on a bench, and I was just like, okay, kept walking my business. I remember one of the times my daughter visited, not this time, but the time before, and we were out getting gelato at one of my favorite local spots. And it was late at night. And then we sat in the park, and there was this old man sitting in the park, and then a couple down, there was a woman with her baby. And it was like 10 o'clock at night. I would never do that in the United States. Ever. Ever. Right? I'd go down to the festas, lots of people. It's tourist season. So, don't get pickpocketed. But lots of tourists here, lots of people in town, big festas. It's like a whole month-long party. You can go all these neighborhoods, excuse me, and feel that energy. I would never go into a crowd in the United States. Absolutely not. I stopped going to concerts in the same way. Thankfully, the last job I had access to a box, so I was able to enjoy that. So it was more controlled. Um, but I was not going in crowds in the U.S. No, I stopped going to movie theaters because what? Aurora, right? Colorado. There were just certain things, and I realized it was making my life smaller. And when you don't have control, and then in order to preserve in a lot of cases, the last bit of safety or sanity that you have, you start to go in, you start to turn inward. That was one of the reasons why I created Blacks to Global. The world was on fire in 2020. I knew I was moving or wanted to move in 2023. But between the pandemic and the murders of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor, my world was caving in. Everything felt unsafe. My nervous system, it was palpable. It was like, it felt raw. It felt like if you've had I don't know, bad scrape, or if you had a tooth and then you felt like a raw nerve, it felt raw. And for some of you, this resonates with you, that your feelings right now are so raw, that the desire is there to move, but you want to stay in the familiar, not maybe consciously want to stay, but there's something that's operating in the background that's working against you. And you're like, why can't I make headway? Every time I try to put $500 away, something comes up, right? It's your nervous system has been hijacked, right? You have to face that. And so when I talk to people who move abroad, and I've had, like I said, many, many conversations, some here, some on the podcast, one of the top 3 reasons, even top 2, safety, right? But these are people largely who are coming from the greatest country in the world, the richest country in the world, has some of the most unhappy people in the world. That part of your move abroad journey, whether you're stateside or when you actually make your move, is healing. It's healing. Because these are how, and this is how you shift from generational trauma, let me say that again, to generational triumph. That's what's possible on the other side, right? Yes, absolutely. Yes. Nelson Mandela said, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but triumph over it. The brave person is not the one who does not feel afraid, but the one who conquers that fear. Amen. Yes. Yeah. The strong one and the risk taker. Yeah, I am in my family. I'm the strong one and I'm the risk taker. I wasn't always, I think within reason. I was like the careful risk taker. But one of the things that actually shifted for me was I had my dear sweet cousin who I lost, and I actually always keep him here. He's on my phone, and so I look at him every time I pick up my phone. And he died several years ago in a car accident, and it's always been, it's still like a devastating thing for our family because he was so loved. And I remember our last conversation, we would tease each other, because we were very close. And we were talking about when we have a lot of longevity in our family, relatives that live into their 90s. My grandfather passed away at 99, my other grandfather in his 90s and stuff. And we were like, oh, we're gonna live a long time. And that was our last conversation. And we mourned him, but my cousin was the one who would be like, oh, he called me up and like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, I got bored. I just got on a plane and went to, Bahamas, or I went to whatever country. And he would just do that. And so as much as his death has altered our family in so many ways, and we mourned him, and he was a maritime engineer and all this other stuff. It was a life well lived because he traveled. And one of the things that we said in that last conversation was, I was kind of a wallflower at that time in my life. And I think, it was after my divorce, and we were talking about, he would say, you got to get out there and travel and stuff. And I'm like, oh, got time. And I remember being at his funeral and thinking to myself, I gotta live. Like I gotta do this. I have to do this, right? Because I want, whether it be whenever, not planning on going anywhere soon, but whether it be whenever, Material things don't interest me at all. um, but the stories I have and the adventures I have, I want somebody to get up there. I want people to say, "Yo, that girl, she went, right? She grabbed the bull by the horns, and she went. She went for it, right?" And so, like I said, it's like finding inspiration where you can, drawing strength where you can, understanding that you're deserving of better. These are the things that, are for you. I passed. Uh, I thought I passed a comment. Mm, Patricia said, I do the things my other siblings won't do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Veronica said, hi, I just contacted a property manager. I have an appointment next Friday. Oh, yay! Congratulations, Veronica. That is awesome. Love it. Love it. Nichelle said, eliminated news alerts. That's right. Yeah. I used to have the devices, Alexas and the Googles and, constant updates, breaking news. Everything is breaking news now. I used to work in news. I used to work for a CNN affiliate. And everything is breaking news. It's like, what? So people have been, it's like Pavlov's dog. But what that does is it dysregulates you so much. And one of the things that I did, because like I said, I had a 7-year runway, right? 6-year runway to my move, was each year I created benchmarks, and I've shared here like financial ones and things like that. But I also remember those last, I would say 18 months maybe before I moved, I devoted my time, I'm pretty sure I talked about it at the end of season 4 of the podcast or 5, where I was doing a lot of shadow work because I realized I was like, there were things that I did not want to carry with me in my move, right? Physically moving yourself from one place to another and moving your belongings is just getting on a plane or getting on a ship, right? But you bring you wherever you are. So, what were the things in the background that I needed to work on and continue to work on, right? We're all works in progress. But what are the things about my personality or things that I've dealt with that I need to work on? Sometimes we don't want to confront the things about ourselves, right? It's easier to project than it is to accept. And then even if you accept it, what are the things that, are you willing to change? You know, I've always talked about, like, not on this channel, but like when I talk about my divorce, you know, I say there were 2 people in that marriage, right? So it would be easier for me to lay all the blame on my ex-husband and absolve myself, right? Rather than talk about the things that I contributed to the demise of that relationship. I might have been the one who pulled the trigger and said, I want out. But what were the things that I did that contributed to the demise of my relationship? Right? So being willing to focus or examine things about yourself is also part of the work because you take you wherever you are. Doesn't mean your next country or your next relationship or your next job is going to be perfect because perfection is elusive, right? It means that you will be better equipped because you have a heightened level of self awareness. And having that is part of the process. Tanya says she talks to certain people about moving because the majority don't understand. Yes, absolutely. There are so many things that I've learned going to other countries that um, I never would have learned because I would have been like a what's it, lab rat? I saw somebody's video and there was office like cubicle setup was similar to the one that I had in my last job, and I was like, "Ooh." Right, but when I was in it, I had my little pictures in my desk, had my little drawers with my things, don't mess with my teas and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't want to see nobody's job again, ever. Because there was so many things as Black Americans. There's so many spaces because we talk about systemic racism that are that harbor trauma for us, whether it be the workplace, school. For a lot of people, school was not a safe place, home wasn't a safe place, right? It goes back to, like Bridget said, not protected or respected. Yeah, right. And so getting in community is part of the solution, right? Having people support. Kimmy said vision boards. Absolutely. Man. Vision boards, yes. Scrapbooking. Um, Brown girls invest too. Hey, how are you? Staying in the US ain't safe now. You got that right. I gotta come back twice later this year. Um, yeah. And I mean, not to digress but just for a second. I heard there's a parade this weekend there. I just saying. I think I heard. It's wild. It's wild. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Angela said, when I start doubting my decision, I listen to folks that are doing it or have done it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You have to. You have to. That's why representation matters. That's why spaces like this and others matter. And we all know, those of us that are, personalities, influencers and stuff, we know that people cross pollinate, right? Because you have to keep, I mean, I've done it. I continue to do it, right? I listen to podcasts. I was listening to a Jay Shetty podcast earlier. Like, you have to feed your spirit. You have to feed your spirit. You have to feed your knowledge bank, right? It's so critical. Um, it's so critical. So let me uh my brother he he wants gelato from Portugal. I had him some everywhere. I had my brother some everywhere. Um, Barack Obama said, the future rewards those who press on. I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. I don't have time to complain. I'm going to press on. So that's what I'm going to do. Wow, that's right, Karen Louise. Um, that's a good question. How much of not moving abroad is actually about people's mindset, and how much is economic privilege? Yeah, I think it all depends. It's an interesting provocation because I think, how do I answer this? Mindset is everything. I've been talking about mindset for years. And it's like somebody who needs to change their diet, right? They may have, a disease state they need to manage, or they may have a few pounds that they have to lose. They have the weights there. Hell, I have weights sitting in here. And I've been saying, I'm in my 50s. I need to continue or start to build and hold up, my muscles and build my muscles. I'm retired. I got all the time in the world, right? But I also know that unless I physically take those weights and put them where I see them and make time, right? And push past when I don't feel like doing it, where I'm not motivated, it's not going to happen. But I can have the stuff in here. I have the weights. I have the yoga mat. But the battle is here first. So it don't matter how much money you have or how little you have. There are people who have lots of money, but they're poor in the mind. And there are people who don't have it, but they're rich up here. Money is a piece of paper that somebody else gave value to, right? Your mindset is part of who you are and what makes you tick. So my argument is that it's going to be mindset. Some people have a lot of money and, well, hell, look, Elon Musk has all the money in the world, right? He's still an asshole, right? Then there's people who have a lot less. But they are the richest people in the world. But at the end of the day, when we leave this earth, we're still going to take a certain amount of space, whether we choose to be, cremated or interred. But I can bet you this. I'm sure there are many people that are sleeping, permanent sleep in a cemetery, a rich person next to somebody who would say is a poor person, still taking up the same amount of space. Can't take it with you. So that's why I said sometimes people create these arbitrary rules. I need to have $100,000 to retire. I need to have $100,000 to move abroad, or whatever number, right? And then they either get to that or they keep moving the bar. Part of this dysregulation, this nervous system dysregulation, is that unwittingly you can be moving the bar. And that comes from conditioning. For so many of us, a lot of people that have watched me are Black professionals. And I remember my one job in particular, it was always these fire drills, always these things. And whether it was specific to your role or, wanting to aspire to move into a higher, level of responsibility, or even in life, just when you think you've gotten all the things, right? You got the degree, you got the spouse, you got this, something is always moving the bar. And we've been trained, some of us, to constantly be striving, constantly be aspiring. That is also rooted in survival. That is also rooted in survival and scarcity mentality. But what I want to challenge you to do is to shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. And it's not as easy as just flipping a switch, because if it was, we'd all do it, right? But it goes into some of the things that we've discussed tonight. Moving your body, journaling, getting into a good space, seeing the person, drawing inspiration, drawing strength from other people. And incrementally, you get there. You don't lose 10 pounds from picking up a weight one night and say, oh, I lifted it, right? It comes from repetition. It comes from consistency. Same thing. You don't shift your mindset in one fell swoop. I wish it were that easy, right? It comes from choosing you every day, choosing to turn the notifications off on your phone or devices, choosing to draw inspiration from other people, choosing, whether it's moving your body, writing, breath work is so important. For some of us, we have never taken a full breath. We have never taken a full breath. We've taken, shortened breaths. Some of us have been holding our breaths for a long time. Some of us don't even have our voice. We're finding our voice. We're trying to reclaim our voice. We've been speaking in whispered tones. This is what is worth it. You're worth it. I believe it, and I know you believe it. And for some people, this is the first time that somebody's ever told them that they matter and that they deserve. So if no one's told you that, I'm here to tell you, you deserve to live the life of your dreams. All right, let me see. Let me get back in the comments. Oh, wow. So I was skipping down because I see. So I'm assuming we're talking about the US. Yes, America is the 132nd safest country in the world, right? And Portugal is, let me know, I think it's 6 or 7. It usually shifts every year. But there are 195 countries in the world. In the world. America is 132. So I'm pretty sure that anywhere, pick any of the above, you'll be okay. I mean, and I say that obviously with an asterisk, right? But yeah, if you survive there with all the trapdoors, institutional racism, hate everywhere you turn, right? You can I don't want you to just survive living abroad, right? I want you to thrive. I walk in my building, it is not uncommon. Couple days a week, I'll have these moments where I'm in my apartment or I come into my building or I'm somewhere and I'm just like, damn, I love my life. I never said that in the States. I have things that I love. I have my children, of course, my mom, my brothers, right? I have aspects of my life in the States that I had affection for. But in totality, no. Right? I can say that now, right? I can say that now, and it feels good to say that. And I say that having a sense of accomplishment. I moved myself and a dog across an ocean and started a new life. And I help others, I inspire them. I can do anything, right? There's nothing that I can't do now. I did the hard thing, right? And sometimes I have to say that because there are things that frighten me sometimes, dating being one of them. And I had to say, well, Krishan, you do scary things, right? Take your power back. Mm. So, as we start to wrap this in a pretty bow, if I know some of you have shared moving your body, Jess said kickboxing, journaling, I saw vision boards. What are some of the things that, keep you grounded, whether it's breath work, meditation, journaling, moving your body? What are some of the practices that you are doing or help keep you grounded or help you get grounded? And for others, if you don't have something, what are you willing to do or try to help you emotionally connect? For me, there were many a decades, and I'm not even gonna say, oh, there was a period. No, there was decades that I could not stay in the present. I would ruminate about the past. I would time warp into the future. I would never be in the present. There are things that I can't recall as well because I was not grounded in the present. I don't have that problem now. I am firmly planted in the present. Firmly planted. Very rarely do I revisit the past. And in the future, it's like, I used to be like, oh, I can tell you what I'm doing 5 years, 10 years out. Now I'm like, the weekend's coming. I'm like, oh, right. I'm so, I'm about to go on my birthday trip. I know where I'm staying, but that's about it. I have no firm plans. And it feels good to be so much in the present because now I'm the chick and I look at my phone. There is like a million, that's an exaggeration, but I have so many pictures of flowers. I walk around and I look at trees and I take beautiful pictures of flowers and all these things, right? I never had stop, was that a time to stop and smell the roses? No, I never had time for that. Mm-mm. Now I have time. I haven't had a dryer in two years almost. I wash my clothes, hang it, on the line, couple hours, depending on the day. There'll be a couple hours or a day and it's dry. I'm like, I got time. I just took something to the dry cleaner this week for the first time ever. And I was like, oh, wow. Because and that was just because I didn't feel like washing it. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'll just do this. It'll be quicker. But it's like, I have time. But you can slow down. And for so many of us, we have so many modern conveniences that were invented with the idea of creating time. Yet so many of us operate in the it's elusive. Case in point, because I'm turning 51 in a few weeks. And I remember when I was little, they had the TV dinners, like the TV dinners with the aluminum, TV dinner. You put it in, it wasn't even a microwave. You would put it in the oven, and it'd be like Salisbury steak and mashed potatoes and some other science project. And you'd have the trays, the little TV stands and stuff like that. They had the microwave, and then we had the smartphones were supposed to be like put the computer and the phone together, because then you could be like on the go and you could have more time, right? Like all these things were created, Uber and DoorDash and all this to give you back time. Yet so many of us don't have time. And if you are working a traditional 9 to 5 and you have your weekends free, not everybody, some people work non-traditional hours. You may have Saturday and Sunday to tie up all the things that you now have time for you, which looks like, if you're a Black woman, could be spending a couple hours in the salon, then having to run and get some food. You may have to pick up dry cleaning, drop off dry cleaning, do something else, maybe see your friends or family, get kids ready for the next week, get yourself ready. The Sunday scary start, and then it's rinse and repeat. It's Groundhog Day. So for many of us, you haven't had time for you. You haven't had time to shift out of survival mode. Jess said, you have to leave the place that traumatized you in order to truly heal. Absolutely. You can't heal in the same place that you got sick. Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Putting money aside has been challenging for me the past few months, but I do it. Some months it's a lot, some months it's not so much, but I have, that's right. Good. Awesome. Progress over perfection. Progress over perfection. There's always going to be something, right? And there's also the unknown. Yes, exactly. And I think one of the other things that it is challenging, and again, it goes back to the dysregulation and the asking for help. You know, I was talking about circling back about being the strong one. America is a very individualistic society, right? You have to be the one to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And you see what's going on in a macro level is that the powers that be are erasing history, whitewashing things, um, taking away the last vestiges of any social supports, which is very harmful in a lot of ways, particularly to our vulnerable populations. Um, and so it further reinforces that survival mentality and survival instinct. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that survival in and of itself is bad. We're human beings, we're built for survival, right? It's a protective mechanism. What I am saying, and I don't want this to get lost, is when your nervous system is hijacked, it's like you're stuck and you can't shift into another gear, right? And so when, for example, me living in Portugal is a more communal society. So I've had times where I've had to lean on my neighbors for things and vice versa. And, you know, I have a strong community of friends here. And because we live abroad, we are like each other's family because we are each other's first line of defense. For many of us, we don't have relatives in country. Our nearest relatives are, in some cases, 3,500 miles across the ocean. And so you learn to pull on one another, right? And so what I'm suggesting to you is that feeling of survival and being in that survival instinct and mentality, things that serve a purpose in one phase or stage of your life may not serve you when you need to ascend to that next stage in your life. And emotional maturity and being around people who are like-minded help you to recognize that, can be a mirror and a source of support to help you get to that, to help you get to goal. Yeah, you know, sometimes I do that. I say it with loving kindness. um, Deborah said, a lady at my job got her office taken. Sorry. I remember the reason why I'm laughing is I remember my last job. I think it was that job. And they were trying to entice people to come back to the office, and they were going to create these spaces because that was like the new thing. Like, oh, we got to create these spaces so that the office looks like your living room because then you'll want to come to work. It's like, are you kidding me right now? I remember one time we asked, because we had seen, because at the time, right, they were putting all this money and they had these relaxed work environments at tech companies. And, tech companies had money to burn. Oh my gosh. Some of the places I've been to, I was like, holy shit. I remember kombucha bars and a couple other things. But in any event, the sleep pods, right? You're like, oh, we should get some sleep pods. They're like, no napping. What? Rest is not reward. Rest is required. We have been hoodwinked and bamboozled to believe that rest is something that, I've seen stupid ass quotes from people. Oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Motherfucker, you gonna sleep forever. How about you live with the time that you have? Because the older you get, I don't know if y'all notice, but a year goes by like 10 minutes now. Okay? So how about you start to live, optimize towards living, right? And so the game, the gag, all of that is to have you, trying to stay at a job to 65 and then delay Social Security till you're 70, and then you'll want to move abroad and travel and all that stuff. What? What? There are certain things that your 70-year-old body is not going to be able to do. Think about the 70-year-olds in your life, 80-year-olds in your life. What does their retirement look like? What has it looked like? Some people look at me like I got two heads when I say I retired early. That's your problem. I make no apologies. What? No. Michael said, America propagandizes its people to stay away from the African continent. Yep. Meanwhile, their ass is over there in other foreign countries. Yep. We're overstressed, overworked, overtaxed, underpaid. Yes. Overpoliced. What? Oof. Yeah. What? Yeah. Look, because you know what? I'm the same jokers that got the nerve to pardon the J6 crew, but then they go after protesters fighting for immigration. 20 million for this military parade. Yeah, I thought Elon and Doge was supposed to be. Is that the money that they got under the cushions that they found? I mean, now that their bromance is over, maybe he decided he was just going to spend the savings. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. 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 Yes, live now. Your best dreams are for you. Absolutely. There's never a time in the future in which we will work out our salvation. The challenge is in the moment. The time is always now. Amen. Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so glad. I'm grateful for you guys. Ah, Chopra. Yeah. And I see some of you guys are putting recommendations and other things in the comments. Soaking Epsom salt. Yes. Prayer, watching videos, listening to podcasts, working on my mindset. Awesome. Yeah. And learning to trust yourself. I think that's something too that's part of building that muscle is, shifting out of needing outside validation to learning to trust yourself. And when society has programmed you to believe and others like you that your Blackness makes you inherently untrustworthy, how do you start to trust yourself? How do you learn to trust yourself? How do you learn to undo the wiring, the hardwiring, right? The rewiring. You need to rewire. Mm-hmm. Ah, thank you. Thank you. You can't outgrow a cage you're trying to decorate. Ooh, yes. I love it. Um, yeah, you can't enjoy life. And let me tell you, part of the process and the reason why you need to pay attention to what I'm saying is you see the outside, right? But this rewiring, this dysregulation of your nervous system, you don't see what it does to the inside of your body. We've talked on this platform many of times. We have Dr. Kimani and Marissa on, and we've talked about weathering. And when it goes back to what I said earlier about changing your baseline, when you have operated for years at this level and constantly been the one saving others, putting yourself last, always being in this rescuing role, you're not seeing what it's doing to the inside of your body. You're not seeing the heart pound. Sometimes we don't even feel, we ignore the pains in our chest, right? We say, oh, it's just a little pain in my chest. It's just a little numbness in my arm. It's just old age. What you're not seeing is the adrenaline that's firing, right? Human beings, fight or flight. The adrenaline that's misfiring when it's not supposed to. And what that does to your body, it's making your organs work harder because they sense danger. For some of us, myself, I've had panic attacks in the past. That was part of dysregulation. So part of reclaiming your sovereignty and choosing to put the oxygen mask on yourself and doing the hard work, and I'm not trying to dismiss it, this isn't hard work, is helping you to live. There's been a lot of loss in life lately, right? And people who don't even make it into their 60s or don't make it out of their 60s. So it is very easy to kind of trick yourself and say, oh, I can do it tomorrow, or I'll wait, or I'll be okay. Because that's what we do. But what I'm trying to challenge you with is you don't need to do that anymore. If somebody else, let somebody else do it. Let somebody else do it. You're important. There's only one you. There's only one you. Choose you. Somebody else calls it selfish. Choose you. I'll be selfish. People call me selfish for leaving. I'll be selfish. I've been other things. You call it selfish. I call it selfless. I call it loving on me, right? Because if I don't love me, who's going to love me? Every day I look in the mirror and I see me, right? You have to be okay with the reflection. Mm-hmm. What? That's what I'm talking about. For me, it was Tina Turner. Oh my gosh. I remember seeing her dance, and I went to her concert twice, her final concert. Whew. Man. Right? You gotta draw inspiration where you can. Yes, why the cage bird sings. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, your mentals. Your mentals are very important. That's right. Yes. Yes. An 80-year-old Black woman moved from the US to Pan. Yes, I love it. Yes, what about? It is never too late. I'm here to tell you it is never too late. I don't look back and say, oh, it was too late. I'm like, baby, I'm just getting started. Wow. Michael said, although Americans are not moving abroad in higher numbers, they will eventually hit a tipping point and say enough is enough. Absolutely. I don't doubt it. I've been quoted, I've done the whole media thing, this movement, this migration of Americans has been a newer phenomenon. Because again, that whole talk track of greatest country in the world and all this other stuff, it's falling flat. And this individualistic, capitalistic, hyper capitalism is killing people. Everything is monetized there. Everything. Case in point, I remember a couple years ago, and people were cutting the cord, and they were like, oh, you know what? I got this smartphone. I don't need my landline, But then they were like, oh, we got these bundles, right? Can't unbundle. Okay, fine, right? Then people were like, well, I don't want to pay for all these, stupid channels that I don't watch. I'm just going to do, Redbox or Netflix, right? Then now everybody and their mama got a subscription service. Everybody and their mama is like, you want to watch a video? Well, this one's owned by this, MGM. So you gotta have MGM for this, you got Apple Plus for this. And so the thing that you were doing to save money is now costing you money. Everything is monetized. I think I can only talk about my own experience. I haven't had any negative experiences. However, I will say, I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, because it most certainly does. It exists everywhere in the world, and Black people are not immune to it or the only people, right? And so there are protests that happen. There have been protests about Black Lives Matter. There have been protests when there's been incidences with the police. There's been protests about other ethnicities that have had experienced racism here, whether it be Brazilians or Nepalese people. I think those tend to have more incidences, I would say, based on sheer number of people compared to Black Americans specifically here. But yeah, that's my take on it. That's my take on it. You're welcome. All right. Ooh, shoot. It is officially Friday for me. All right, good people. So I hope this resonated with you all. I hope that, identifying this, if it applies to you, has been helpful and that you now have at least a basis to work from now that you've identified the issue. We've talked about a couple of things to keep yourself or start to build your toolkit, right? Journaling, vision board, right? Talked about kickboxing. Some people are running. Had listened to podcast, R&B, having baths, soaking in Epsom salt, right? Creating rituals. And allow yourself to imagine what your future state is, right? Imagine what your new life can be. Imagine what you would want for yourself. And if you find yourself falling into the trap of negative energy, draw strength, draw inspiration, feed yourself, get in community. Like I said, we have our, thank you. Yay, thank you. It's June 27th, and I'll be going live the night before, June 26th. So we'll do a little pre-gaming for my 51st birthday. So save the date. My birthday's June 27th, but we'll do a YouTube live the day before because I think my birthday is on a Friday this year. But yes, hopefully these things and identifying these things are going to help you or somebody else. And if you're interested or need extra support, come into Black's the Global Passport. Like I said, we're going to do a workshop with Start Abroad on June 21st at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time. That's right, because daylight savings, Eastern Daylight Time. And yeah, boots on the ground. Yes. All right, y'all. Thank you for the early birthday wishes. I'll be back next Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'll try to get the dates right. All right. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you next week. Ciao, ciao. Boa noite.